All right, and welcome to the first ever recording of the On the Pace podcast. I'm your host, Eli, and today I realize I am late to the party with pretty much everything. So, just a little introduction about what I hope to gain out of this. I am a motorsports fan. You can tell by some of the stuff in the background. I got my Winston Car Cup, but I got the NASCAR behind me, but as a whole, this podcast will probably be covering IndyCar, Formula One, and the World Rally Championship. I look to cover pretty much all three series throughout the year, and I am well aware that rally has already started. I am 100% aware of that. I have been slacking. It took me a minute to get this whole podcast off the ground. So don't worry, I will be coming in with rally commentary sooner rather than later. I feel like, truthfully, it's a little late to recap Monte Carlo, but it was a good rally. I will say that. But the big news right now, as of the time of recording, is we are currently in F1 Bahrain testing. That is right. I wanted to get this prediction list out before testing started, but there are some complications. I do have another podcast as well, and that took a lot of my time up this week. So I'm coming to you with my predictions for the Formula One season a bit later than I would like, but 2 days into testing, and it already changed my list that I had originally wrote. So I know a lot of people say testing does not mean anything, but here we are. It changed my list for sure. Basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to end up doing this with the my IndyCar predictions as well. When it comes to rally car, I'll whoever wins, I predicted. Just remember that. But basically, I'm going to start with the back of the grid, go up from 22 to number 1, where I think they will end at the end of the World Drivers' Champion standings. And when I complete a section on two drivers, I'll just give you a hypothetical. Let's say I place Colapinto and Gasly, but they're not right next to each other. I will then make my commentary about Alpine and where I think Alpine will end up in the Constructors' Championship. I was trying to also go for some bigger predictions, some more hot take predictions, but really I kind of only came up with one that I think is plausible, but is a big one. So I'm going to stick around till the end for that one. So with all that ado, let's get started with who I think will finish last in the drivers' standings, and that is Valtteri Bottas. I do not see Bottas possibly getting a single point this season. Cadillac is a new team, obviously. They just had that big Super Bowl ad, and as an American myself, that Super Bowl ad came across and said, America's F1 team. And me and my wife were screaming at the TV going, but there's Haas! Either way. I think Cadillac's going to struggle. I think Valtteri's going to struggle. He struggled at Sauber. His final season in 2024, he got 0 points. He was outscored by Joe, even though Joe only managed to score points in one race. But personally for me, I see Valtteri getting outpaced by Perez, his own teammate. I see Cadillac not doing well at all. Which leads me to number 21, and that is everyone's favorite lovable driver, Lance Stroll. I don't have much to say about Lance. I think there's kind of an agreement amongst everyone around Formula One that he doesn't want to be here anymore. And this is one of those predictions that changed after watching 2 days of testing. Lance does not like the new car. He's openly admitted he does not like the new car. He openly admitted it's too complicated. Lance has always been one of those drivers that, unfortunately, I want to call him a wet weather specialist, but he does perform very good in the rain. But to be a specialist, you might need to win. You might need to do more than one pole. Either way, and yes, I know but that was the last time he did anything really of significance. But a complicated car does not suit Lance Stroll. And more importantly, what seems to be coming up about the Honda Newey Aston situation is they are behind. They are not, this is not their year. If they're going to get anything in these regs, it's going to be towards the end of the year. And truthfully, he got out qualified by Fernando the entire season. He's always done that. The only times he scored points were wet races. And so I do think Lance might, stumble into 10th once or twice. I do not see a whole bunch of points. And truthfully, I think this is the last year for Lance Stroll. I think he'll pull Daddy Lawrence aside and quietly say, I'm done. Now, with that being said, wouldn't be shocked if he ends up in IndyCar or WRC, but he's not doing it for the love of the game anymore. He was never doing it for the money. With my 20th prediction in the Drivers' Championship, I'm going to go with Checo Perez. I think that Checo will outpace Valtteri. More importantly, I think Checo was wronged. Well, at the time, he was not wrong, but after seeing the disaster that was Red Bull last season, you can very much say that Checo feels wronged, at least. He has a little fire in his stomach. He seems to already be handling, after 2 days of testing, the car from Cadillac better. I wouldn't be shocked if it was more built around him. He seems to have had a longevity in the sport that Bottas, with his dive at Sauber and dive at Alfa Romeo, when it came to scoring points and putting in good races, just 2024 is a good example. I understand I'm looking back on history, but you have to comprehend that Checo's probably fired up, which then leads to my 11th in the constructors will be Cadillac. I don't see how they make it to 10th. I truly don't. And part of that's just founding a new team. Part of that is getting their feet under the ground of what Formula One racing truly is. There's the part of me that questions. If Checo and Valtteri do not score points, I'm not going to be shocked. But I do think Cadillac's probably building the car more around Checo. But they have the Ferrari powertrain, which is looking not as bad as every Italian would tell you. But it's their first year. They know. They're not looking to this year. They're just looking to put a car that doesn't blow up this year. A car that these guys can steer. And truthfully, maybe it's because I've always liked Checo. I think he can at least steer it. I don't have that much to say about Cadillac. I think they've made good hires, but they're kind of putting it all in on this is them. I know they want people to stick around, and some unproven people taking the realms of that team. I think it will be interesting to see where they are in 4 years, but just, you gotta be real with yourself. This is not the year. Number 19 in the World Driving Championship, I have Arvin Lindblad. Christian Horney's golden boy. I'll be... I think Lindblad is not Kimi Antonelli. And there's a couple reasons why I believe this idea. First off, Kimi went to a top 4 team immediately. Kimi always was touted as the next thing. Kimi was the wonder kid who got put into a top team with a good leader. I'll argue 2 good leaders. I'll argue George Russell's a good leader. No matter what Drive to Survive tried to say with, it's his team now, even though he got disqualified that last season. But Lindblad meddled around in Formula 2. He did not put up these results like Alex Dunn or Jack Crawford. I was blanking on the guy whose career I'm following very closely. His name, Jack Crawford. He was not touted as this guy who's going to come into the seat next. I really think he's going to need time to develop, but more importantly, this is the first time Red Bull has made their own engines. And I think that matters. It is a new reg, so his experience in an F1 car is going to be truly his own. He's not going to be coming in from a different angle. But at the same time, I do believe that he is going to struggle. I don't think they're going to can him. I think they're going to be more patient with him now that Marco's gone and Christian Horner. But I do think he's going to struggle. I would argue, though, that he will be in the points a couple times. I can see him having one very good race. But I can see a lot of conversation around if Lindblad is going to be at Red Bull next year, which I do think at Red Bull in 2027. And of course, I do think he will be, but I expect him to definitely struggle. Moving on to number 18, I have in my prediction Franco Colapinto. I was very excited for Franco when he came into Williams. Personally, now at this point, I believe that this is a make or break year for him. And I think in 2027, he will have a lot of fun in IndyCar and running at Le Mans. I think he is out after this season. I do not see Flavio cutting him till the end of the season, but I have not seen him grow. He has not developed really as a racer. Obviously, that Alpine was so bad towards the end of last season, it was difficult to drive, and he tried. It's hard when you and your teammate are at the bottom of the score table or lap table, but your teammate still got 4 seconds on you. It's hard. I do think that the Alpine will be better. I kind of have high hopes for Alpine a bit this year, but I think he will stick around throughout the season. I think he will be gone in 2027. But more importantly, I think he will stick around, if only for the Argentinian backing that Flavio won. Which then leads me to my number 17, Fernando Alonso. Fernando, I wish it wasn't true. My golden boy, I wish it wasn't true. I want to see you. Just get a win. Just get a podium. It's sad. It's sad at this point. He's a great of the sport. He's an all-time great and an all-time radio great. But I think the Aston's going to be bad. I think Fernando's obviously going to out-qualify Lance. I think he's going to outpace Lance. I think he's getting older, though. He is getting older. I think if the car is bad, I wouldn't be shocked if he gives up halfway through the season, like just mentally. Which then leads to my 10th in the constructors, is Aston Martin. A lot of people thought Aston might be able to break in, to be considered a top team, to win races, to see Lance Stroll driving in the points consistently. But after everything that I've seen, after everything testing has shown, they don't have that car ready. And personally, I believe in Newey. It's almost impossible to doubt the man who has accomplishments like Adrian Newey. But at the end of the day, it's going to take a minute to get regs. I will not be shocked also if this is Fernando's last season. It pains me to say, but the greats never go out with a bang, normally a whimper. And I think Fernando will get points. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets kind of that, quite a few, maybe 10 spots, But I think the car is incredibly unreliable too. As of right now, I don't think he's tested it, which is never a good sign. And just like Fernando, my next prediction is his best friend, Liam Lawson, at number 16. Like I kind of said with the Lindblad, I expect the RB drivers to struggle with Red Bull fully making their own car. I believe in Liam. I think Liam's a good driver. I think Liam will stick around the sport for a while. But I feel like he will stick around the sport in the same way that someone like Esteban Ocon has stuck around the sport. Not necessarily backmarker teams, but those teams fighting for 7th. I would not be shocked if this is his last year at Red Bull, or RB, I guess you could say, the Red Bull program. But I liked what I saw from Liam. I feel like once he got demoted last year, was getting demoted really going to Red Bull, but when he went back to the RB last year, it took a minute for him to get his feet underneath him, but I really think he's going to struggle a bit to get the car under his footing. I kind of expect the same season from last year. Not a good start. Conversations about, is Liam gone? Is this or that? Which, like I said, in 2027, I do believe Liam Lawson will be at a different team, honestly. But I think he'll score some points. I do think he'll have some good races. And I expect him and his experience over Lindblad to put that car in places where it really doesn't belong. Which leads to my number 9 in the constructors is Red Bull Jr., is sugar-free Red Bull. Sponsored by Visa Cash App. The junior team never seems to do great when regs change. So it's kind of my only basis for putting it down here. I really believe that Liam's going to be carrying it. Maybe I'm just hating on Lindblad, but I hope he proves me wrong. I think Liam will be carrying it. I think there'll be more questions about Liam too. It's never great when your number 1 driver has the more questions about him. I think it'll take him a moment to adjust to the car because it's going to take Red Bull a minute to adjust to the car. Which leads me to number 15 in my prediction in the World Drivers' Championship standings at the end of the season is Gabriele Bortoleto. I think Gabby will have a good season. But I kind of expect the same season I did from him last. And it's mostly because of the Audi shift. I think he's in a very unique case where he is almost getting a second rookie season. Which I know is technically impossible. It's the same schedule. My Simula's gone. But at the end of the day, Audi has no expectations right now. I think their expectations, most importantly, are, is our power train good? Is our engine good? Can we actually develop this car? But more importantly, I think they're developing it around Gabby. He is a superstar in the making. He will win races in Formula One. But he is young. He was a tad bit crash prone. Or more correctly, not pressing the brakes hard enough prone. And I see him being one of the future faces of Formula One. If that's at Audi, I am not sure. I would have to guess he stays there longer than intended. But I do believe that Gabby is getting a second rookie year, which will lead to a lenient Audi team towards him, but still some really good performances. My number 14 prediction is Esty Bestie Esteban Ocon. I have a lot of hope for the Haas right now. I really do. I think the Haas is possibly going to be very good. I think Esteban has always been an equal competitor. He's been in teams with people who, at the time he was in teams with them, were at the same talent level as him. And I do not know how Esteban Ocon will respond to basically not being the number one driver anymore. The hype's around Ollie Behrman. He's kind of just seen as the old guy now. He's been around for a long time. But more importantly, he struggled with the car. He struggled with the car last year. And day one of testing, he was in fourth. We'll kind of speak into that a little bit more when I speak about Haas. But I can see a consistent situation with Esteban Ocon where he's fifth one week and DNFs at the next race, and then 19th at the next race, and then 6th. I think it's going to be a really good race, really bad race. I think he's going to be inconsistent, and I think he's going to struggle with the fact that, objectively, Ollie Behrman's a superstar in the making. He's going to be the next Ferrari kid, and Esteban Ocon's at Haas. For my number 13 prediction, Nico Hülkenberg. Now, I was crying at the TV when Nico Hülkenberg got a podium. I was crying. I was bawling tears, man. I'd come back from church. I'm sitting there. I'm just, he did it. He did it. Oh, this is why we watch sports. But I don't have a lot of faith in Audi. I have a lot of faith in Nico. I think he will perform during the race better than Gabby. I think he will do better than Esteban. I think he'll be more consistent than Esteban. But I think we're looking at a man who is going to be a legend to us that watched around talk about how, Nico Hülkenberg was that good. But I wholeheartedly believe that he's just going kind of middle around there. I think he'll middle around there the entire season, that like 11 to 15 spot. I put him at 13, smack dab in the middle. I think he's just it's going to be tough for Nico Hülkenberg in transitioning to Audi. I don't see another podium unless something crazy happens. But what I do see is him garnishing points. I really do. But that's what he's done his entire career. I'm just predicting that he's going to keep on in the career field. Which leads to my number 8 in the constructors. It is Audi. I believe in Audi. They have experience in other series racing. I know they're working on their own powertrain. I guess something that I forgot to mention is that Nico and Gabby, I do expect to have some engine trouble. I would not be shocked if maybe 2 DNFs because of the car each this season. I do think, though, that Audi will be able to come in and compete towards the bottom. All right, I have them past RB. And it's just because they're taking over the Sauber team. This is not like Cadillac where it's brand new. A lot of those people at Sauber, they stayed on. They came to Sauber knowing it was going to be Audi to stay on and help. And that's one of those things that personally for me, I see as a good advantage, but I still see them struggling. I see, more importantly, them taking the initiative with building their own engine immediately. I do not think Hulk, as much as I love the man, I love you, Hulk, but I do not see him as their long-term option. They will get someone else in there to really build around Gabby. But I do think he has a solid season. I think he has some good performances. Which leads me to the next. I'm going to combine these two. Number 12, I have Carlos Sainz. And at number 11, I have Alex Albon. If this Williams does not perform, James Vowles will be fired. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think that will happen. There's too much. They didn't show up to the shakedown. They're not doing well in testing. And like I said, I'm taking a lot into what testing means right now. But these are two guys who want to win. These are James Vowles. I wholeheartedly believe James Vowles wants to win. But I think the car is going to be that fifth, sixth, seventh best car every race. And more importantly, the reason I have them like this is I believe they will take points off of each other. I think in a true sense, not a Zach Brown sense, they have two number one drivers. And I think they're going to take points off each other. Which is why I have them at 11th and 12th, which leads to Williams, who I actually have at 6th in my constructors, which I will explain in a moment. But I do think they do decently well. I think the car is going to be half decent. I do not think that they will make it up to that 5 spot. I think there will be a large gap between 4 and 5, and personally, I think they'll fight for the 5, but I do think that they're struggling right now. I can see them getting it together later in the season. You know, by the time Qatar rolls around, a terrible race to think about, but by the time that race rolls around, I think they'll have it together. But they're going to struggle at the beginning. I think we're going to see Williams of old for a little bit, and everyone's going to question it, and they'll get it together. But more importantly, the car's possibly overweight. They built the car wrong. But this is the first time I get to talk about this too, though. They do have the Mercedes. The Mercedes power engine. And I think that will help them. But at the same time, if they built the car wrong, they built the car wrong. It's going to be a struggle season. If James Vowles talking about, it's 2026, this is 2026, break everything, you know? We all saw the edit. Burp, burp, burp. It's not enough. You know, we all saw that edit. But what are we doing? You need to be competing with the big dogs if you're going to talk all that up. And I think he overtalked. And now, the idea that points will be taken off of each other still means they will be high in the constructors. But I think, unfortunately, we're not going to see him finish the season, either driver in the top 10. Excuse me. So, for my number 10 in the Drivers' World Championship prediction is Pierre Gasly. I think the Alpine will be a lot better. I think Flavio has had positive and negative influence on this team. I think he's demanding a good car. Now, more importantly, I think Pierre Gasly is a good driver. And that is the most important part about all of this. I'm rolling the dice. I'm betting all on black on Pierre Gasly doing well this season. It might hit red. I might lose everything. Pierre might be gone by the mid-season for all I know. But I'm betting on Pierre to get a hold of this car, get a hold of these regs, understand how to work with a Mercedes power unit and be okay. Which then leads to Alpine, who I actually have at 7th. I think Colapinto does not score that much, as obvious by me putting him at 18th and Pierre at 10th. I'm looking at now, I think they might be the largest teammate difference that I have. Yes, they're the largest gap between teammates that I have in my predictions. I think Pierre scores most of the Alpine points. I don't think it's enough to surpass a Williams. But I do think the car will be better. I think they focused on it last year. I think there'll be some upside to Alpine. Which leaves me in my number 9, and that is Oliver Behrman. I am all in on Oliver Behrman. I am so all in on Oliver Behrman so much. Oliver Behrman could win a race. Oliver Behrman will get Haas their first podium this year. Oliver Behrman will also be the face of Ferrari in the next coming years. But he proved it. I feel like he proved it. Once he got his footing, he proved it last season. And I know the regs changed, but I think he has the confidence. What I'm betting on in this teammate battle between Oliver Behrman and Esteban Ocon is confidence. Oliver Behrman has the confidence. And he's also hysterical. I love this kid. He's great. He's great for TV. He's great for the sport. But my bet with Esteban versus Oliver is that Esty Bestie, unfortunately, is losing confidence. I also think he might be losing confidence with Haas. We've seen a lot of changes with Haas. While Ollie, this is good for Ollie. I think Oliver Behrman will be the quote-unquote midfield driver, highest ranking, which then gets to my possibly what most people might consider my wildest prediction. Haas at number 5. And Haas will be the 5th team. And I can solely sum that up to 2 things. Oliver Behrman will score points. But more importantly, I don't think the Ferrari's that bad. I think they have built a good car. And I think Toyota and Ferrari, 2 of the most legendary car companies, using both of them to build a car will help. So not only do you have Behrman with confidence, I still think Este's a good driver, but you have a good midfield car. Objectively the best of the rest as of right now, which leads me to the testing talk. This is day 2. Esteban Ocon put that car in 4th, and Oliver Behrman put it in 3rd. They out-tested Ferraris. Again, I know testing means nothing. I know it's just hogwash. Testing, teams are doing different things. That's why it's different. I know. But it means something still. It means something still. We watched Carlos Sainz put that Williams last year in good spots. And what did he do? He got 2 podiums with it. With Oliver Behrman as well. I am just buying his stock. If there's a first-time race winner this year, it will be Oliver Behrman. Something crazy is going to happen. He's going to have to qualify well. First turn, take out the top 3, get a good strategy call, which Haas was pretty good at last year, at least when it came to Behrman's strategy. He's the only one I can see being a first-time race winner, which weirdly enough leads me to Isaac Hadjar at my number 8. I think it's going to be new for him. Obviously, he got a podium. I think the Red Bull as a team, as a power unit, might struggle. All the distractions are gone outside of Red Bull now. It is Max Verstappen's team, really Jos Verstappen's team, but it is Max's team. Laurent did a great job filling in. He likes Isaac, and more importantly, Max seems to like Isaac. I do think it's a little bit of a dad thing, Max has kids now, and he's going, "Oh, you poor French baby, I will help you." But I see Isaac, of the 8 drivers from the top 4 teams, doing the worst. But with all that being said, I don't think it's terrible. I know I said Oliver Behrman first-time race winner. I'm now realizing that I also don't think Isaac Hadjar will win a race. I think he'll get a podium. I think he'll get podiums. I can definitely see that. Especially some of those tracks Red Bull's always good at. But I think there's one major reason he would not win, and that is Max. The team's always going to defer. Which leads me to my number 7, Lewis Hamilton. This might be the last year for Lewis. He doesn't like the car. He's already expressed it. He doesn't like the regs more specifically than he doesn't like the Ferrari. But I think we see the same Lewis we saw last year. I think his confidence is gone. The light's gone from behind his eye. That's what Ferrari does. It drains your life and your soul. But Lewis is done. He'll compete. He's in Ferrari. He's Lewis Hamilton. He's. A lot of people will say he is the best driver of all time. I'll say he's one of. That debate's still out, I guess. I still don't really know where I fall for it. But I think we're just watching a sad, limping Lewis who has to go to Kim Kardashian to feel happiness. And speaking of sad eyes, Charles Leclerc at my number 6. This is a testament about Ferrari. I think the Ferrari powertrain will be good. I think it will be the second best. The problem is 2 of the top 4 teams have what I think are the best. I think Charles is kind of done with Ferrari. The famous Sebastian Vettel quote, "You'll never win here. They'll drain the life out of you." I see Charles doing good performances. I see him maybe even winning a race. But more importantly, why these two are next to each other, again, that I don't think fully gets talked about enough, is I think Ferrari will cede Lewis to Charles. I think Charles is the number 1 driver at this point. He proved it last year. And if Lewis is already the one complaining about the regs in the car, I know that's a competitive attitude, but I don't think it looks great. I really don't. But I think they'll finish around the same. I think Charles will have a bit of a better because he's in his prime and unfortunately wasting it at Ferrari. But, which I guess leads to where I put Ferrari in my constructor standings, which is 4. I think it's going to be a repeat. I like Fred Vasseur. I like Lewis and Charles. But the dog days are not over yet over in Italy. And unfortunately, I think they'll continue into this reg. I think we're looking at a possibility where both drivers are gone in 2027. I don't know where Charles goes. I can see Lewis, depression, quitting, having a fun life out wherever, Colorado, Britain, Monaco. But I think we're possibly looking at the end of an era in Ferrari. Which brings me to my number 5, which is the beginning of an era, Kimi Antonelli. I loved what I saw from Kimi last year. I was not on it. I thought Toto was overhyping him. Make a whole movie about him before he steps foot in the car. But Antonelli's the real deal. Kimi Antonelli is the real deal. there's just one thing stopping him, and that is George Russell, which we will speak into later. Which is also same reasoning for Isaac. I believe that Mercedes will pull Lewis and Valtteri moves on Kimi Antonelli if they are in a title fight this year. Why I go back to why I think my only first-time race winner will be Oliver Behrman is because I think Toto is not afraid to pull team orders, and if George is in a title fight, he will. I think let's be real, Kimi's the next Lewis. He's the next Max. But he's what, 19, 20? He's like 5 years younger than me. He needs to develop. And I think this will be his developmental year. I get used to Kimi standing on a podium now, because it's going to get real old in a couple years when they keep playing the Italian national anthem. And it's not for Ferrari. It will be for Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli. This leads me to my number 3 and number 4 prediction, which is the McLaren drivers. I think you could really swap them either way. I personally put Oscar at 4 and Lando at 3. It goes back to the idea of confidence. I think Oscar's confidence is shattered. I will not be shocked if we see another tweet about, without my permission. But I think it's a toss-up. I mean, it's a flip of a coin. The only reason I put Lando before Oscar is because of that confidence shattering. I'm sure Oscar does not have a chummy relationship with everyone's favorite American, Zach Brown, caricature of himself. And as an Oscar fan, and as a McLaren fan, it does kind of hurt. More importantly, I think they will take points off of each other. I think a very common sight is going to be them running 4th and 5th, or a type of situation where it becomes, 6th and 3rd. But I think they're both good enough, which becomes a problem in a title fight. We saw it last year. Well, last year was just drama alert. But yeah, 3 and 4, which leads me to my statement on McLaren. I believe McLaren will be placed in 2nd in the Constructors' Championship. When you take points off of another driver, they still go to your team. Everyone's talking about the Merc right now sandbagging. They're not sandbagging. It's still going to be the number 1 engine for this regulation. McLaren has it. McLaren's basically already proven that they can work with anything, and they're going to. I think they are also the top team with objectively the most, I guess you could say, confident, and a lot of it's a difficult call between Ferrari and them, but they have the most talented and experienced. The other 2 top teams are working with guys who were rookies last year. Oscar and Lando, at least, even though I said that Oscar does not have that much confidence, compared to the absolute emo days over there, the MCR concert, not even the MCR concert, I don't know, the Seosin concert that's happening over at Ferrari. They are confident. And that is important to remember. But like I said, when it comes to the driver standings, they're going to take points off of each other. When it comes to the constructors, really, I almost think they're a toss-up between winning it again and coming in 2nd. Which means my number 2, who I believe will come in 2nd in the World Drivers' Championship, is, drumroll, George Russell, which then leaves Max Verstappen at number 1. So, let's talk about George Russell. George Russell has the best power engine in his car. George Russell has the best car, probably. George Russell has a team principal in Toto Wolff who believes that George at least has to win one, right? George, you must win at least one world champion. That was terrible, I know. Don't at me. More importantly, George Russell has Kimi Antonelli. I understand Kimi's the future. But it took a minute for Kimi to get going. I understand the Miami sprint pole, whoop-de-doo. But he slowed down after that. More importantly, I think George and Max will be in a title fight. I wholeheartedly do. I think we're looking at it comes down to Abu Dhabi again, title fight. But you can't bet against Max. After this testing, Max is complaining about the regs. He's complaining about the car. He's complaining about Ford. And somehow he's quicker than everyone. He's talking about, not necessarily himself, but they're talking about how he found a quicker way around corners than everyone else already. By just how he drives. You can't bet against Max. We learned that last year. You cannot bet against Max Verstappen. And if he truly keeps the car at the level we've already seen in testing, with the drive, he's going to win it. He's going to win it. But more importantly, my fear is that he hates the car so much, he's going to give up halfway through. It might happen. I doubt it will, though. He's such a competitor. He's such a fierce competitor. He is the Dutch Lion. But like I said, I think Max and George will come down to an Abu Dhabi title fight. And in that circumstance, you give it to Max. You give it to Max. He won the most races last year and still didn't win. Max will do it. Excuse me. Which leads to this. My constructors. Red Bull will be number 3. And that's only because of Isaac's inexperience. And Mercedes will win. I think they'll put a lot behind George just for this season. I'll be shocked if it continues after this season. But I think they'll put a lot behind George. But more importantly, Kimi will do better than Isaac. Will Kimi do enough to beat McLaren? I don't know. My actual coin flip predictions here are basically all around McLaren. McLaren could win. But for the sake of it, I kind of hope they're second. McLaren could. When it comes to the standings, I don't see Lando or Oscar competing again. Truly competing for a world championship. But flip a coin for who's going top. Who's going better the teammate. Most importantly, so I believe that Mercedes will win the Constructors and Max Verstappen will be a 5-time world driving champ. Thank you and good night.